Hello you guys, welcome back to the Eco Edit channel. Today's video is going to be a review of a newer product. These are the RMS Cashmere Matte Eyelights, and I got 2 shades of these, and I wanted to kind of swatch and talk about the packaging and talk about the formula and compare them to the traditional eyelights, which are a shimmerier formula. So that's what we're going to be doing. For starters, the actual packaging is aluminum with a little plastic cap. Now, the difference between the original eyelights packaging and the newer matte eyelights packaging is the nozzle is shaped differently. So the original eyelights had a flat nozzle, and the new eyelights have a pointed nozzle. My understanding, based off of interacting with the brand, is that RMS's kind of concept behind changing the nozzle shape on these was that less product would be dispensed. That's not really my experience at all. I find that a lot more product comes out because it's so highly pressurized that the tiniest bit of pressure on the tube causes a ton of product to come out. So I've really just been quite disappointed in that. I wish that they would go back to the other nozzle, if I'm being frank. So the 2 shades that I got are Mallow Coast and Mountain Mist. I tried to get the 2 that looked the most cool toned and like it would kind of flatter me, so I'm going to swatch them on my hand first. So this is Mallow Coast, and in my opinion it's quite a bit warmer than the tube would have you think. I thought that based off of the color of the tube it would be a bit more plummy rosy, like a dusty shade, and it really isn't. And then Mountain Mist is a little bit closer to the color of the tube, but it really is more taupey and less gray. And I was honestly hoping that it would be more of a gray color. So that is Mountain Mist. So it's got less silver and much more taupe. Now the actual formula, I don't know if you can see what happened, but I let it sit for a second and now I can't blend it out. So if that gives you any inkling as to how this formula performs on the eyes, it's very difficult. So I'm gonna put Mallow Coast on one side and Mountain Mist on the other side and just kind of talk about what my experience has been with this product. So I'm gonna go in with like a little fluffy brush. So compared to the shimmer eyelights formula, this formula just is not nearly as forgiving. You kind of start to try and work with it, and by the time your utensil is in hand, it's like already begun to dry down and get skippy. It just doesn't really want to blend super consistently, and it goes patchy and kind of cakes up. I don't know if you can see how incredibly patchy that looks. It just looks really uneven and unflattering. I'm so bummed. I'm so bummed. I really wanted these to be amazing. I'm gonna take a different kind of denser brush. My cat is acting like an absolute crazy animal. And this is the kind of brush that I would use for a formula like this. I use this brush often for like my Gressa eye tints. And it, as you're blending it, it like starts to pick itself back up. So I've tried like just using stamping motions, but the more you blend, it kind of either gets patchy and like cakes up in certain areas or just disappears completely. So then you want to go in with more product to see if you can like build it up and get this like area to fill in. Nope. You most certainly cannot. And I've tried like working off the back of my hand and like being really quick with blending and using stamping motions, and in my opinion, if a product needs this much like tampering and finessing to make it work, it's not for me. It's just not for me. It's too much effort for payoff that doesn't really perform. And for, you know, a color like this to not, it like barely shows up, and then as you blend it, it like dries into like a crusty looking patchy mess. And then if you try and blend that dried crusty patchy mess, it just flakes away into no, like there's no staying power. Also, and this could just be me, I don't know, my eyelids kind of burn. They kind of burn. It's not crazy and they don't look super red or anything, but they kind of feel a little irritated, and I don't want to mess with it anymore. Like, this is not a good product. So as much as I wanted to like these are an absolute terrible product. I hated these. Let me know in a comment down below if you picked these products up, if you tried the RMS Cashmere Matte Eyelights and what you thought of them, if you could make them work. I would love to know about it, but I could not. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.